I asked God for strength, and He gave me challenges to make me strong. I asked for wisdom, and He gave me problems to solve. I asked for wealth, and He gave me a body and a mind to work. I asked for courage, and He gave me dangers to overcome. I asked for patience, and He placed me in situations where I had no choice but to wait. For a very long time, I believed that my thoughts were who I was. Any thought that appeared in my mind, I automatically assumed it reflected my true self, my real abilities, my real future. I did not separate myself from it. I did not question it. I simply lived according to it, as if there were no other choice. If one day I thought I was weak, I lived like a weak person. If I thought I was unworthy, I made myself smaller. If I thought life was difficult, I walked through it with heavy shoulders. I did not realize that throughout all that time, I was not in control of my life at all. I was only reacting to streams of thoughts passing through my mind day after day. Change did not come from a dramatic event. It came from a very quiet moment. A moment when I realized that the same circumstances, the same person, but with different thoughts, led to completely different actions. And if actions change, life cannot remain the same. I began to ask questions, not about the world, but about my own mind. Why did I believe every thought that appeared in my head? Why were there thoughts that made me weaker, yet I still listened to them? And why had I never learned how to choose? There is something very strange about this. We learn how to read, how to write, how to work, but no one teaches us how to live with our thoughts. We are given an incredibly powerful tool, but without an instruction manual. And so most people live like passengers inside their own minds. A thought appears, pulling emotion along with it. Emotion pulls action. Action creates results. And results come back to reinforce the original thought. A closed loop. I used to think that in order to change my life, I had to change my circumstances. I needed more opportunities, more money, more recognition. But the more I observed, the more I saw something entirely different. Two people can live under the same conditions, yet experience life in completely different ways, simply because they treat their thoughts differently. Some people see thoughts as commands, others see thoughts as suggestions. And that difference decides everything. The most important realization in this journey came when I understood this. Not every thought needs to be believed, and not every thought needs to be kept. Thoughts are like passers-by. Some just walk past, some stop to say a few words, and some you invite into your house and let them sit in the living room. The problem was, in the past, I invited everyone in. No distinction, no filtering. Whoever knocked, I opened the door. And then I complained that my house was too noisy. When you begin to see thoughts as mental events rather than identity, a very small distance appears. That distance is enough for you to breathe. Enough for you not to react immediately. And within that distance, you have a choice. This is not about control through force. You cannot command thoughts not to appear. The more you try, the more they return. But you can decide how much influence they have. There is a sentence I deeply believe in. You do not control the first thing that appears in your mind, but you control what stays in the end. This journey of awareness did not turn me into someone who is always positive. It turned me into someone more awake. I began to recognize repetitive thoughts, old phrases, conclusions drawn from the past that were still controlling the present. And for the first time, I did not rush to fix them. I simply observed. In the next part, we will go deeper into the stage where most people remain stuck for their entire lives. The stage of living inside their heads, being led by thoughts, without ever realizing the real price they are paying every single day. There is a state that many people live in, yet rarely name correctly. A state where you think you are thinking, but in reality, your thoughts are living your life for you. You wake up in the morning, nothing has happened yet, but a chain of commentary has already started in your head. Today will be exhausting, today will be long. Today probably won't be any better. You did not choose these thoughts. They appear out of habit, and because they are familiar, you do not question them. This is the foggiest stage of inner life. You are not in enough pain to change, but you are not peaceful enough to be happy. You operate on inertia. Each day passes as you react, adapt, endure, without realizing that the way you treat your thoughts is determining the quality of every moment. Thoughts become invisible guides. A negative thought appears. Emotions sink, actions shrink, life contracts. And the most dangerous part is this: the loop runs very quietly. There is no alarm, no clear signal that you are losing control. There is a man named Andrew. His life is not bad. His job is stable. His family is ordinary. But every day, he feels like he is living slightly below his true potential. Not enough to be desperate, but enough to ache. Andrew has very familiar thoughts. I am not the kind of person who does big things. I should be satisfied with what I have. Changing now is probably too late. No one forces him to think this way, but he believes these thoughts. And because he believes them, he lives exactly within their boundaries. What is frightening is that thoughts do not need to be true in order to control you. They only need to be repeated long enough. The brain loves familiarity. It chooses what has appeared many times before because it is less surprising. And so, many people live their entire lives inside a version of thinking copied from the past, from other people's words, from old failures, from conclusions drawn during their weakest moments. You think you are choosing, but most of the time, you are simply following old scripts in your head. There is a very real price to this state. You do not only lose opportunities, you lose the sense that you are the one steering. You begin to live in acceptance rather than agency. And gradually, you forget that life could be experienced differently. I once heard a thought that feels painfully true. When you do not control your thoughts control the direction of your life. And this does not happen in one day. It happens very slowly. Slowly enough for you to get used to it. Slowly enough for you to call it normal. The important moment is not when you have a negative thought. The important moment is when you realize that you are living inside that thought without even knowing it. Realization does not make everything disappear immediately, but it breaks the hypnosis. It creates a crack, and inside that crack, choice begins to appear. The moment you begin to observe your thoughts instead of automatically following them, something very subtle but powerful happens. You realize that most of your suffering does not come from events themselves, but from the meaning your mind attaches to those events. The same situation can feel completely different depending on the story you tell yourself about it. A failure can mean, I am not good enough, or it can mean, I just learned something important. The event does not change. Only the interpretation does. But here is the part most people misunderstand. You cannot simply choose a better interpretation on demand. If it were that easy, no one would struggle. The mind does not work like a switch. It works like a habit. And habits are not broken by force. They are replaced by awareness and repetition. Most people think they are thinking freely, but in reality, they are replaying the same mental patterns every day. The same judgments, the same expectations, the same internal comments about themselves and the world. This is why it feels so difficult. You are not fighting reality, you are fighting years of mental conditioning. There is a very important distinction you must learn to see: the difference between having a thought and being lost inside a thought. Having a thought means you notice it. Being lost inside a thought means you forget that you are noticing. When you are lost inside a thought, it feels like reality. It feels unquestionable. It feels personal. And because it feels personal, you defend it, even when it hurts you. This is why arguing with negative thoughts rarely works. The moment you argue, you are already inside the thought. You have accepted its frame. You are just trying to negotiate within it. Real control begins one step earlier. It begins when you recognize this is a thought, not a fact. That sentence alone creates space. You start to see how often your mind predicts the future without evidence, how often it exaggerates danger, how often it generalizes one moment into a permanent identity. One mistake becomes, "I always fail." One rejection becomes, "I am unwanted." One slow day becomes, "My life is going nowhere." These are not conclusions based on reality. They are shortcuts the brain uses to feel certain. The brain prefers certainty over accuracy. Even negative certainty feels safer than uncertainty. This is why the mind clings to familiar negative beliefs. They may hurt, but they are known. To control your thinking does not mean to eliminate negativity. It means to stop mistaking familiarity for truth. There is a phase in this process that feels uncomfortable, when you no longer fully believe your old thoughts, but you do not yet have new ones that feel solid. This is a mental no man's land, and many people turn back here because uncertainty feels worse than familiar pain. But if you can stay here, something important begins to shift. You start to see that thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions based on past data, and past data is often outdated. Your mind is constantly trying to protect you, but it is using information collected from moments when you were younger, weaker, more afraid, and it has not updated its files. So it warns you, it doubts for you, it limits you in advance. Not because it wants to harm you, but because it does not know that you have changed. This is why awareness alone is not enough. You must also provide new evidence. The mind updates through experience, not explanation. Every time you act differently despite the same old thoughts, you are teaching your brain something new. You are saying, "This situation is survivable. This action does not destroy me. This fear does not mean danger." And slowly, very slowly, the mind begins to loosen its grip. There is a woman named Laura. She believes she is bad at speaking in public. Every time she thinks about presenting, her chest tightens. Her mind says, "You will embarrass yourself." For years, she avoids situations where she has to speak. And every time she avoids, the belief becomes stronger. One day, she decides not to eliminate the fear, but to move with it. She speaks briefly, not perfectly. Her voice shakes, but nothing terrible happens. That moment is more powerful than 1,000 positive affirmations. Because the brain updates its map, this did not kill us. Control of thought does not come from domination. It comes from evidence. This is where most people fail. They wait until they feel confident before acting, but confidence is not the prerequisite, it is the result. If you wait for your mind to give you permission, you will wait forever, because the mind only grants permission after it has seen proof. So the real work is not in your head. It is in the small actions you take while your head is noisy. At this stage, controlling your thoughts does not mean making them quiet. It means learning to act without their approval. There is a strange freedom in this. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start asking, "Is this aligned with the direction I want my life to move?" That question belongs to you, not to your mind. And every time you answer it with action, even when doubt is present, you reclaim a bit of control. In the next part, we will go even deeper into how repeated action reshapes thinking, how identity is formed from behavior, and why trying to fix yourself mentally often keeps you stuck. We will also look at a dangerous illusion, the belief that once you understand your mind, negative thoughts should disappear, and why expecting that outcome is one of the fastest ways to lose progress. Because control is not silence, control is choice. And choice only exists when you are no longer hypnotized by your own thoughts. At this point, many people make a critical mistake. They believe that because they now understand how thoughts work, those thoughts should become calmer, kinder, or disappear altogether. And when that does not happen, they assume they are failing. This belief quietly destroys progress. Understanding your mind does not mean your mind will stop producing negativity. It means you will stop being controlled by it. The mind's job is not to make you happy. Its job is to predict and protect, and it will continue doing that, even when you are moving in the right direction. In fact, when you begin to change your behavior, the mind often becomes louder. Not because you are regressing, but because you are stepping outside familiar territory. Growth feels unsafe to the mind. So when you try to improve your life, new thoughts appear. This won't last. You'll fail again. Don't get your hopes up. These thoughts are not signs that you are weak. They are signs that the mind is updating, struggling to reconcile old data with new actions. If you misunderstand this phase, you will stop. You will say, "I thought I had learned to control my thinking, but it's still negative." And you will return to old patterns, not because they were good, but because they were familiar. This is why controlling thoughts is not about winning a battle once. It is about building a long-term relationship with your own mind. A mature relationship does not require silence. It requires boundaries. You allow thoughts to appear, but you do not allow them to decide your direction. This is where identity begins to change. Most people think identity is something fixed, something you discover, but identity is largely the result of repeated behavior. You become the kind of person who does certain things, regardless of what you think while doing them. If you consistently act despite fear, you become courageous. If you consistently speak despite doubt, you become confident. Not before, after. Thoughts follow behavior far more than behavior follows thoughts. This is a difficult idea to accept because it removes the excuse of waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel different, waiting to feel like the right kind of person. You do not become a new person and then act. You act and a new person emerges. This is why small actions matter so much. Not because of their immediate results, but because of what they teach your mind about who you are. Every time you act against an old limiting thought, you weaken its authority. Not through argument, but through contradiction. The mind says, "You can't handle this." You do it anyway. The mind has to update. This updating is slow. The mind is conservative. It does not change beliefs easily. It needs repeated evidence. And that is why consistency matters more than intensity. One brave act does not rewrite identity. Hundreds of small acts do. There is another illusion that traps many people. The belief that controlling your thoughts means controlling your emotions. It does not. Emotions will continue to arise. Anxiety, sadness, frustration. These are part of being human. Control is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to act with emotion present. If you try to remove discomfort before moving, you will remain stuck. Life does not wait for emotional perfection. Instead, you learn to carry discomfort with you, like background noise. It is there, but it no longer dictates your behavior. There is a powerful shift when you stop asking, "How do I feel right now?" and start asking, "What does this situation require of me?" The first question centers the mind. The second centers reality. When reality becomes your reference point instead of internal commentary, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but clearer. You stop dramatizing internal resistance. You stop personalizing every thought. You stop treating every emotion as a signal to stop. This does not make you cold or robotic. It makes you grounded. There is a calm strength that comes from knowing you can function even when your mind is noisy. That strength is not loud, it does not announce itself, but it changes everything. Over time, you will notice something surprising. Thoughts still appear, but they lose their urgency. They no longer feel like emergencies that require immediate reaction. You can hear a thought like, "This is too hard," and still continue. You can hear you might fail and still move forward. At that moment, you are no longer controlled. You are leading. And this is where life begins to change in a very real way. Not because you have eliminated negativity, but because negativity no longer owns your decisions. You begin to experience life more directly, less through filters, less through internal narration. You respond to what is actually happening, not what your mind predicts might happen. There is a deep sense of freedom in this. Not the freedom of doing whatever you want, but the freedom of not being trapped by your own mental habits. Many people search their entire lives for external freedom, money, status, location. But the most important freedom is internal. Freedom from automatic thought patterns. And that freedom does not come from fighting your mind. It comes from understanding it, setting boundaries, and choosing action anyway. At the end of this journey, the goal is not to have a perfectly calm mind. That goal is unrealistic and unnecessary. The goal is much simpler and much more powerful. To be able to say, my thoughts can speak, but they do not decide who I am or where I go. When you reach that point, you are no longer a passenger in your life. You are the one holding the direction.